Okay, so get this. Like, imagine no Twitter, could you?
Yeah.
No 280 characters of news, no trending hashtags, no celebrities melting down publicly.
It's hard to picture, really.
Right, and it almost didn't happen. You ready to dive into the crazy story of where Twitter came from?
Absolutely. And what's wild is that it came from a company that was struggling to, survive in the world of early podcasts.
Really a plot twist. So picture this. It's 2006. iPods are like everywhere, and this little company, Audio, is going all in on podcasts.
Yeah.
They even get a bunch of funding, like as the first commercial podcasting platform. Things are looking pretty good.
Yeah, well, until Apple kind of drops this huge bombshell
Right.
and integrates podcasts right into iTunes. So
Yeah.
suddenly, Audio's future is not looking so bright. It's like a canoe in a hurricane.
Yeah.
They need to pivot, like, fast.
And that's where the magic and maybe some desperation comes in. Like the whole hackathon culture of Silicon Valley. Basically, it's this pressure cooker of creativity.
Yeah.
Where developers are trying to come up with new ideas.
Yeah, often in just one day.
Yeah. And it's in this pressure cooker that Jack Dorsey, one of Audio's co-founders, just kind of throws out this idea for a status update platform.
Right.
Just a way to share these quick little messages about what you're doing.
Exactly.
And get this, like the very first version of Twitter is put together in a single day.
It's amazing to think that this global phenomenon, this Twitter, started as a one-day hackathon project,
Right.
really shows how powerful these creative bursts and quick prototypes can be.
Totally. But here's the interesting part. At first, it's just this tiny group, like
Yeah.
12 employees, their families and friends,
Right.
basically using it as like a digital water cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's more than that. Even then, they were targeting bloggers, a community already comfortable sharing their thoughts online.
Right. This is when blogs were getting big, right? And the idea of microblogging, like shorter, snappier than these long blog posts, it was something new.
That's such a good move.
Yeah,
And it totally paid off, right? These early adopters basically shaped where the platform went.
exactly. And then comes a big moment for Twitter, South by Southwest, or SXSW.
Oh yeah, SXSW.
This massive tech and music conference. Picture these giant screens all over the place showing live tweets.
Wow. So that's where things really blew up.
Absolutely. Genius marketing showcased Twitter's real-time communication to this huge audience, almost like watching the event's heartbeat, digitally right there in front of you.
I bet that got people talking. Okay, and this is where it gets really mind-blowing. The features we all know and love. Hashtags, @replies, retweets, even trending topics. They weren't thought up by some big team of executives. They came from the users. Right. It's almost fate, isn't it? It's like Twitter was this digital playground and the users were the architects.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But hold on a sec. Didn't everyone think this whole Twitter thing was like a bad idea at first?
Yeah.
I mean, switching from podcasting to chirping.
I mean, some critics called it the stupidest move in Silicon Valley.
Ouch.
It's true. A lot of people, they just didn't get it. It's often like that with things that are really new and different. They shake things up, and it takes time for people to catch on.
Right. And the funny thing is, the co-founder we're talking about, he actually left Twitter right after it launched to work on Flickr, which at the time everyone thought was going to be the big thing. Talk about a missed opportunity.
Right. It really shows how ideas of success can change. Flickr, under Yahoo, it didn't really reach its full potential. But Twitter, well, you know the rest.
Yeah. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes the ideas everyone laughs at are the ones that end up changing the world, right? It's about seeing potential even when others don't.
Absolutely. And it also shows how important it is to execute well. A brilliant idea is just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
It's the dedication, the adaptability, the constant learning, and the willingness to evolve that really makes a difference, makes a success story.
Right. Speaking of visionaries, let's talk about Jack Dorsey. Our co-founder compares him to Steve Jobs. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's not just about their shared tech brilliance. Think about Dorsey's focus on simple, elegant design and user experience, almost like an obsession with how things look, just like Jobs.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Dorsey wasn't like just this amazing coder, was he? He had to learn how to lead a company, manage people, and deal with all the chaos of a platform that's growing super fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great reminder that even these tech giants start with, one person's passion
Mm.
and a lot of hard work, and that leadership.
Mm.
It's a muscle you build over time, through trying and failing.
It's inspiring to think about that
Mhm.
anyone with a good idea and a lot of hustle can make a real impact.
Absolutely. And speaking of impact, how about we talk about the story behind the name Twitter? I mean, it seems so simple, but it's brilliant, don't you think?
Totally. It's catchy and memorable, which is like super important in the tech world.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to know. How did they come up with Twitter?
Okay, get this. They found it in a dictionary. Literally.
No way.
They were looking for a word that captured the feel of the platform, those short bursts of info, almost like birds chirping.
Wow. Sometimes the easiest answers are the best ones. Right. But let's be real. Not everything about Twitter is sunshine and roses.
Oh, it's true. It's been a roller coaster. Lots of twists and turns and controversies. And speaking of controversies, we can't ignore the big one. Elon Musk. His takeover of Twitter has been, it's been a game changer, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Our co-founder has some interesting and kind of mixed feelings about it. They see like the good and the bad.
Right. They admit that some of the changes Musk has made were, needed. Twitter had gotten a bit stale.
Yeah.
Shaking things up was probably a good idea.
But there are definitely worries about where he's taking the platform.
Right.
Some people are concerned it's becoming like more of a tool for one side, moving away from being that open forum it used to be.
Yeah. And there's also the whole issue of control. Our co-founder has always been big on open protocols and giving users more control over their data and their experience.
Right.
There's a real worry that these principles are being lost under Musk.
Yeah. It's a complicated situation for sure. And we want to be clear. We're not here to take sides. We're just laying out the different perspectives and hoping you, the listener, think about these issues. What do you think about this new era of Twitter?
Yeah, it's a great question to think about, and it leads to a deeper thought. Twitter wasn't originally supposed to be this global phenomenon, this force for activism or even revolution.
Right.
It was just for personal connections, remember?
It's crazy to think about.
It is. Makes you wonder, what other unexpected consequences are there hiding under the surface of the platforms we use every single day?
Whoa. Mind blown. Okay, let's pause here for a sec to let that sink in. When we come back, we'll dig deeper into what Twitter's evolution means and explore the ever-changing world of social media. Stay with us. We're back, diving deeper into this fascinating and sometimes like kind of unsettling story of Twitter's evolution.
Yeah. It's really something when you think about how this platform, which started as like just a way to share what you had for lunch, has become so intertwined with global events.
Right.
It sparked social movements.
Yeah.
It's changed how we talk about politics. It's even like brought down governments.
It's wild, right? That 140 characters or now 280 could have such a massive impact, but with great power comes
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. On the one hand, you have this incredible tool for giving a voice to people who haven't had one, for connecting people across the world, for holding those in power accountable. But then on the other side, it's also this breeding ground for misinformation, for echo chambers, and for really extreme viewpoints to spread.
Our co-founder seemed really, really worried about this concentration of power, in these platforms like Twitter. It's like all our eggs are in one basket, and that basket is controlled by a few tech giants.
Right. That's a key concern they bring up. They argue that this kind of this control in the hands of a few can actually stifle innovation and limit what users can do. They're really big on a more decentralized approach to social media, something built on open protocols.
Okay, I need a little help here. Open protocols, decentralized social media. What does that actually mean? Like in plain English?
Okay, so imagine a platform where your data isn't owned by some big company, but it's managed by you, maybe through like a blockchain system. It's kind of like the difference between using Gmail, a commercial email provider, and hosting your own email server. You have more control, more privacy.
Okay, that's making more sense. So with these open protocols, anyone could build and connect to the network, right? That could lead to a much more diverse and kind of resilient ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. Think back to the early days of the internet, before, the walled gardens of Facebook and Twitter, a more open space, where users had more say.
It's like the Wild West of social media, right? A
Yeah.
little scary maybe, but also kind of exciting. And this idea of a more user-centric internet, it's gaining traction, right? I've heard more and more about alternative social media platforms that focus on privacy, being transparent and users actually owning their data.
Yeah, there's definitely a movement growing, pushing back against how things are now. People are realizing that their data has value, and that they should have more control over how it's used.
It's pretty inspiring to see the really people who built these platforms we use. They're now working to create something more decentralized. They're not just sitting back and letting things stay the same. They're trying to build something better.
Yeah, and that's a powerful lesson. It reminds us that the future isn't, already decided. It's something we can all be a part of shaping.
But let's be realistic. A decentralized future sounds great in theory, but are there like real world examples of this working? I mean, can a platform built on these ideas actually compete with the big guys like Twitter and Facebook?
There are challenges for sure, but there are also some really exciting projects popping up that are trying these ideas out. One example is Mastodon.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's a decentralized social network that's gotten pretty popular lately.
So how does it actually work? Is it like Twitter but without like the algorithms and the ads?
In a way, yeah, but it's also a lot more than that. Mastodon is made up of thousands of independent servers,
Right.
each with its own rules and communities, all connected to each other. So instead of one big platform controlled by one company, you have this huge network of all these different communities. It's kind of like the difference between a shopping mall and a busy city with all its different neighborhoods.
Wow, that's a really cool way to put it. But wouldn't that make it like harder to find people and stuff you're interested in? I mean, part of what makes Twitter so addictive is that it's so easy to find new things.
That's true. Discoverability is definitely one of the challenges with these decentralized platforms. But there are also pluses. For example, since you're not relying on algorithms to decide what you see, you're less likely to get stuck in these filter bubbles or see stuff that's designed to manipulate you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's a trade-off, more control, more privacy, but maybe less convenience, and you might not see as many different viewpoints. It's a tough call.
And that's exactly why it's so important to have these conversations. There are no easy answers, and what the future of social media looks like is still really up in the air. It's up to us as users to decide what kind of online world we want to create.
So what does all of this mean for our listeners? What can they take from Twitter's story and use it in their own lives, their work, their own online presence?
Maybe it's a reminder to think more carefully about the platforms we use, to question the trade-offs we're making, to look at other options, and to support the development of technologies that are more ethical and put the user first.
Maybe it's inspired some of you to check out, Mastodon or other platforms that are more decentralized. Or maybe it's made you more curious about the things that are shaping the digital world. Whatever it is, we hope this deep dive has left you with a sense of wonder and a desire to learn more.
Because, at the end of the day, the story of Twitter, with all its ups and downs, is really a story about us. Our need to connect with each other, our desire to be heard, our struggle to control the technology we create. And that story, it's not over yet.
Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one last question to think about. Knowing Twitter's story, what do you think the future holds for social media?
Will we see things move toward more decentralized platforms where users have, more control, more ownership? Or will this current model where power is in the hands of a few, will that continue?
What do you think, listener? The answer, well, we'll have to see. But One thing's for sure, the story of social media, it's far from over. The next chapter is still being written, and it's up to all of us to shape it. We've talked about the rise of Twitter, all the unexpected turns it took, and the possibility of a future that's more decentralized. But as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I think it's worth taking a moment to really appreciate those innovations that came from the users themselves.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it. Hashtags, @replies, retweets.
Yeah, no, right?
Those weren't, thought up in some fancy meeting room. They came from the way people naturally wanted to use the platform.
Yeah.
It really shows the ingenuity of everyday users.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder what other great ideas are out there just waiting to be discovered. What if we could like tap into that collective intelligence in other areas, beyond just social media?
It's like that saying, the wisdom of the crowd. If you can harness that, who knows what you can do.
Exactly. And it all comes back to creating an environment where innovation can thrive. It's
Mhm.
about making spaces where people feel comfortable experimenting, taking risks, sharing their ideas without worrying about being judged.
It's about celebrating those aha moments, no matter how small they might seem. You never know what could spark a revolution.
Yeah. And it's also about changing how we see failure instead of looking at it as a setback. What if we saw it as a chance to learn, a stepping stone to something even better?
Right. Because let's face it, Twitter itself, it started as kind of a gamble, a side project that a lot of people thought was silly. But that stupidest move in Silicon Valley, like some people called it, it ended up changing the world.
It really does show that sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas come from the most unexpected places. And it highlights how important it is to nurture that sense of curiosity, that willingness to explore the unknown.
So as we're thinking about Twitter's journey, let's also think about what it means for technology in general. What lessons can we learn from its successes, its failures, its unintended consequences?
Yeah, it's a question we all need to wrestle with. What can we do to make sure technology helps humanity, helps us connect and empowers people? How do we balance innovation with responsibility?
Those are big questions, no doubt, and there won't be easy answers. But I think it starts with recognizing that technology isn't just this neutral thing. It's shaped by the choices we make, the values we prioritize, the stories we tell.
Absolutely. It's about being aware of those unintended consequences, being willing to adapt and change course, and always trying to create a digital world that's more fair and empowering.
We hope this deep dive into the story of Twitter has given you some new ideas, maybe challenged some of your assumptions, and maybe even inspired you to think differently about the role of technology in your own life.
Because ultimately, the future of technology isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating together. One tweet, one post, one innovation at a time.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time, ready to explore another fascinating corner of the world.